If the child is emotional, the cerebral parent punishes the child. If the child is confident, the somatic parent competes or shames. And if the child is independent, both parents interpret that as abandonment. Hey everyone, I hope everyone is doing good and taking good care of themselves. So today I'm going to talk about, what happens, when a somatic narcissist and a cerebral narcissist, comes together, gets married. And, the different ways, the child, pays the price, the product of that marriage, yeah, how they pay a hefty price, yeah, by being raised by such a duo. So let us briefly understand what somatic narcissists are like. Yeah, so the somatic narcissist is preoccupied with physical appearance, health, sexuality, and bodily attractiveness. Their sense of self-worth is, constructed around how much desire, envy, or admiration, they can provoke in others through their body, status, or material display. And Professor Sam Vaknin, he describes, this somatic narcissist beautifully. I mean, he is the first one, that I did hear this word, from. I mean, the term somatic narcissist. So Dr. Vaknin, notes that the somatic narcissist uses their body as a tool of seduction and conquest. Their flesh is their fortress. Yeah. Think of the seductive mother obsessed with her looks who competes with her daughter. I mean, that's how things are in, narcissistic household. And when you have a somatic, narcissistic mother, she'll be obsessed with her looks. She'll be competing, with her own daughter. And if you have a somatic narcissist dad, father, he is going to objectify others. Yeah. And he will do anything and everything, to remain and to be the only attractive person in every room. Yeah. They start competing with their, children. Now, let us understand what cerebral narcissists are like. So, the cerebral narcissist, by contrast, lives in the realm of intellect, logic, and superiority of thought. They know it all, they are perfect, they have reached epitome of perfection. These folks, cerebral narcissists, they derive their narcissistic supply through display of intelligence, wit, academic achievements, or some weird abstract dominance. They are not interested in the body. Yeah, in fact, they often look down on it as something which is base and vulgar. Yeah, they don't prioritize body, they don't value body, they are not interested in body. Yeah, these individuals, those who are cerebral narcissists, their power lies in control over thought, language, and logic. Yeah. And if you are familiar with Otto Kenberg's work, Otto Kenberg, explains that cerebral narcissists suffer from pathological grandiosity of intellect and often demonstrate cold, calculated, object relational detachment. Yeah. So, I mean, I have seen, some of these cerebral narcissists, displaying psychopathic traits as well. Yeah. So these folks, they live in their own bubble, and they think they know it all, they are intelligent, they are the ones who know more than you and me, more than the others, and they harvest supply, using their intellect, logic, degree, superiority of thought. Yeah. And that's how they harvest supply. And others, I mean, people like me, will be like, wow, she's so educated, wow, he's so educated, wow, he's so well articulated, wow, he gives such beautiful logic. Yeah, I mean, innocent individuals will fall for it. I mean, we admire knowledge. I mean, you and me, we admire knowledge. We admire intelligence and intellect. But again, all of these things in wrong hands, is going to F up everyone around, and is going to just use all of these talent and skill, you know, to harvest supply, yeah, and not to do good for others. It's all about them, me, you know the drill, yeah. Now let us understand why these two narcissists, magnetize each other. It's a, I would say, a kind of a match made in heaven, yeah. And I'll tell you why. Because one is somatic, one is very bodily, and one is, very intellectual. One is, very much here, and the other one is here. So of course, they are like yin and yang. They balance each other out. To tell you honestly, on the outside they may seem, they are opposites, one grounded in flesh, the other in mind. But what actually draws them together is complementary pathology, yeah. So the somatic narcissist admires the cerebral narcissist sophistication, intelligence, credential, the way how he or she articulates, yeah. Somatic is very much, grounded in flesh, and the cerebral narcissist is very much in the mind. So, somatic automatically gets drawn, towards the cerebral narcissist, aura, the cerebral narcissist magic. And, in a lot of ways, they both are attracted to each other because they are very complementing. Uh, Both of them enable each other's delusion, that is for sure. The somatic reinforces the cerebral's fantasy of being an unfeeling genius, yeah, and the cerebral justifies the somatic's vanity as confidence or charm. And this is what, Dr. Craig Malkin might classify as echo matching, where, the narcissistic partners reflect and reinforce each other's, ego ideals instead of challenging them. What binds them isn't love. Let's be honest, it's mutual ego preservation. So there's no love between them. It's pure mutual ego preservation. Together, these folks, they create a closed psychological system where the body distracts, the intellect defends, and the abuse gets disguised as sophistication or success or intelligence or intellect. Now, when these folks come together and they become parent, the children are not whole. The children are fragmented. And to tell you honestly, the entire childhood of the child is nothing more than, systemic damage. Yeah. So these narcissists don't just partner, they co-parent dysfunctionality. A somatic narcissistic parent will be hyper focused on child's appearance. They will project their own insecurities or sexualize the child. They may, compete with the child, especially mother and daughter, duos. And, they may use the child for status, admiration, and grooming. Whereas in cerebral narcissistic parent, they are emotionally cold and distant, yeah, but they are very intellectually controlling, yeah. They will use all kinds of logic, notion, intelligence, knowledge, to gaslight their children, dismiss their children, and belittle the child's emotional reality. They will use all of the skills, all of their ability to reduce the child, to minimize, to dismiss, to belittle the child's emotion. These cerebral narcissistic parents, they treat their kids' emotions as inconveniences and not experiences or feeling. Yeah, it's like an inconvenience. So when a child is born, in a family where one parent is somatic narcissist and the other parent is cerebral narcissist, the child grows up, split between two incompatible demands. Yeah, either be beautiful, perform for love, or be perfect and don't feel anything. Yeah, that's the kind of a mindset the kid, grows up with. Yeah, being raised by a somatic narcissist and by a cerebral narcissist. And this is because neither parent validates authentic emotional presence. Yeah, they are big time into gaslighting. One's way of gaslighting is different from the other, but they both are into minimizing and gaslighting their kids' feelings and emotions. Yeah, rather than validating their kids' emotions and feeling, they demand constant performance. Yeah, either physical or intellectual, in exchange for approval, validation, love, affection. So, things are very transactional in narcissistic families. In this kind of a family, you know, love, affection, approval, validation is only given if you are either performing physically or intellectually. If you are able to give them what they want out of you, either physically or intellectually, or be of that standard, what they expect out of you, then you will be given validation, approval, love, and affection. Otherwise, gaslighting, minimization, they are going to ruthlessly, reduce you. Now, I would like to tell you something, very fascinating and interesting. In her book, Trapped in the Mirror, Dr. Ellen, Gollum, notes that, children of narcissists often internalize their parents' shame and, they a kind of develop a false self. And the goal and objective is to solely survive that family, that relationship. And this false self becomes even more fragmented when raised by two parents who are, demanding, contradictory but equally oppressive identities out of the child. Yeah. So the child is literally split between the two. One is wanting bodily things, look good, you know, groom yourself well, be more presentable, look pretty, look healthy, look fit, this and that. Obsessively. And the other one is you need to sound intelligent, you need to sound intellectual, you need to sound like me, you need to be, maybe 1% like me. Yeah, you need to be somewhat like me. And both are, pushing both of their narratives on you. Both are, pushing their expectations on you, unrealistic expectations. And literally, you are split. You really don't know who you are on the inside. The child is placed in an unresolvable double bind, a concept, which was first developed by Gregory Bateson to describe paradoxical communication where any, choice leads to punishment, either or eventually you'll be punished. Yeah, so that's what Gregory Bateson had talked about with the double bind, his double bind theory. And for you guys to understand, in this kind of a dynamic, if the child is emotional, the cerebral parent punishes the child. If the child is confident, the somatic parent competes or shames. And if the child is independent, both parents interpret that as abandonment. And what's the result? The child learns that any assertion of identity is dangerous. They grow up in a narcissistic family system that, simply confuses love with control, replaces emotional safety with performance. All the time you're expected to perform. And, these kids are gaslit on a regular basis into orbiting around parental needs and betraying their own wants, needs, and requirement. Yeah, every time they talk about their needs, they are shamed, minimized, ridiculed, criticized. And then, with time, the kid is not connected to himself or herself. The kid keeps orbiting around the parent's needs. What my parent wants, let me cater that, let me look into that, rather than, taking care of my wants, needs, and, everything. In such families, kids are not seen as people, individuals. No. Kids are seen as props in the parents', egotistical drama. Yeah, so I mean, it's sad, but that's how things are. For, I mean, every narcissist, their victim is like a prop, a tool to harvest things out of them. In narcissistic families, if we are looking at narcissistic parents, they don't love their children. Let's be honest, they don't love their children. Their children are just kind of props, in their, egotistical drama. The children are nothing more than puppet and tools. That's it. On the outside, we might see, wow, they are so loving, they love each other, blah, 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 blah. But on the inside, it's empty, hollow, and there's no depth. Yeah, they are just puppets, mindless puppets who are disconnected from their own self and who are just mindlessly serving their narcissistic parent. And to tell you, this is, the combination, the somatic narcissist and the cerebral narcissist is like, you know, a match made in heaven, not heaven, in hell. Yeah, they are horrible. They literally, split, the kid's mind. Yeah, they don't let the kid develop, in a healthy manner. One controls, in a different way, the other controls in a different way. One manipulates and abuses in a different way, the other manipulates and abuses in a different way. And the result is the kid's growth is stunted. The kid is, emotionally handicapped. The kid is just dependent on the parent. The kid doesn't know who he or she is on the inside, who he or she is in reality. The kid never gets a chance to meet his or her authentic self. Let us understand what are the effects of such parenting. I mean, such a duo, the somatic and the cerebral narcissist. Adult survivors of, this kind of pairing often experience chronic, self-doubt. Is it right what I'm thinking? Am I feeling correctly? Yeah, I mean, such individuals, they grow up, with a lot of chronic self-doubt. These folks also suffer from fragmented self-concept, and that is that these folks are unable to reconcile, being too much and not enough. Apart from that, these folks also, experience somatization of trauma, unexplained physical symptoms. I mean, it's there in every narcissistic family. I mean, survivors of narcissistic abuse, they do experience somatization of, trauma. But in this case, it's more. Very weird sensations, very weird physical symptoms. And to tell you guys, I have worked with a couple of people, who have been, product of such duo. And they sometimes explain certain physical symptoms that you might never have, heard of. So weird and bizarre. Like I'll give you an example. One of my client, she had been raised by such a duo, and every morning after waking up, she used to find it difficult to stand straight. She used to find it difficult to do anything for at least maybe 3-4 hours. She wasn't able to start her day immediately after waking up. She experienced a very, crippling feeling and emotion where she is unable to do anything at all. Yeah, and she used to just laze around on the bed or on the couch. And if her husband used to ask her to do something, her hands used to shake. She used to just drop the things, or she used to just mess it up. I mean, she was just not in control. Yeah, and it was all stored trauma. So even she was wide awake, she was unable to start the day. She had to take good 3-4 hours, and only then she was able to, go about the day. Yeah, so this somatization of trauma is a real thing. And trust me, she went to a lot of doctors, and the doctors were into, diagnosing her with POTS, fibromyalgia, this, that, and all of the, interesting, diagnosis and label. But, no matter what medicine was prescribed to her, nothing changed that. All the tests were fine, everything was good, her vitamin B level, her metabolic health, her blood markers, everything was perfect, everything was optimum. So, somatization of trauma is real, and it, shows in a lot of different ways. The other effect of, such parenting, such, nasty duo, is that, victims often get into this mode of intellectual overcompensation and, compulsive appearance control. Again, the cerebral narcissistic father or cerebral narcissistic mother, the somatic narcissistic father or the somatic narcissistic mother. And because of the kind of treatment they put the children through, these kids genuinely feel that they need to overcompensate either with, intellect, or they need to, compulsively, control their appearance. They need to look a certain way. Otherwise, it'll be end of the world. The other effect of, such parenting is, deep feeling of being emotionally defective or invisible. I think this is a common one. If you're raised by narcissistic parents, you do, feel, I mean, you genuinely believe that, you are defective, or you need to be invisible. So when these children, I mean, those who are raised by a somatic narcissistic parent and a cerebral narcissistic parent, these children grow into adults, who question their reality, they mistrust connection, and often become either hyperachievers or deeply avoidant. This is the result. They live in what, Judith Herman, describes as the enduring captivity of trauma bond. Yeah, so they are stuck, in that state. And, it really hurts them. It hurts, those around them as well. So these kids are, not raised to be a healthy adult. These kids are raised to be better slaves. These kids are raised to either be a overachiever, someone who performs, hyperachiever, or someone who is into performing too much, to prove their worth and be relevant, or, these folks grow up to be deeply avoidant. Yeah, any issue, avoid. Anything goes south or anything goes wrong, avoid. Yeah, they develop this, avoidant attachment style. Yeah, it's quite a common thing when you are raised by such a duo. So when we ask, why do somatic and cerebral narcissists make such a strong couple, power couple, good couple, I mean, on the outside, and yes, on the inside also, they are strong because they are compensating, what each other is lacking, or they're giving, what each other wants. um, the real question is, at what cost? They enforce each other's pathologies so completely that the child literally becomes, the stage where both egos perform. That's a very bad thing for the child. Yeah, and neither the parent takes responsibility for the damage they cause, and nor the kid is aware, or the kid is in a state to hold them accountable and responsible. So their union, the union of a cerebral and a somatic narcissist, is basically, I mean, according to me, not a relationship. It's just, a kind of a system built not on intimacy, connection, or depth, but built on illusion, control, and anything and everything superficial, nothing deep. And the one who suffers the most because of this duo, because of this powerful couple, is none other than the child. The child who never really gets to, become themselves. Yeah, the child is just split. The child has, or you can say the child grows up with a lot of, this feeling of being fragmented beyond repair. And it's really difficult. They grow up to be dysfunctional, emotionally handicapped adult. I wouldn't say they consciously hurt others, but they are so dysfunctional and they are so much beyond repair that being around them, makes others suffer as well. Yeah. So, yes, this was it. I mean, what it is like, to be raised by a somatic and a cerebral narcissist, and, what happens to us when we are raised by such a duo that was made in hell and not match made in heaven. So, yes, in case if you would like to add in something, please comment below. Till then, take care of yourself. Lots of love and blessings to all of you. Bye.